All right, so one of the first things we need to talk about are providers. There are all kinds of different providers in AzStudio, but when we generally talk about providers, we're talking about these things. Providers are a type of package that you give to your programmers, and they control the actual connections to the configuration service. And as such, they're kind of the secret sauce. They bind your projects to the configuration services, which then binds you to things like encryption services and your configuration database. For every application, not project, but for every application, you need to build 3 providers. Now, the details of building these providers are fairly complex, and we don't generally give that information out just in a sandbox environment. So for your purposes, they've already been built. The first provider that you're going to have to create is an admin provider. The admin provider is your bootstrap. It basically lets you get set up and started and have access to all the primary resources that you're going to need to connect to start building your application. This provider also usually has crypto keys in it, so it's not something you want to give out to the rest of the world. Generally, only the system architect or lead DevOps person would have this DLL. Okay. The second provider you're going to create a package version and a DLL version of it. Is the configuration service provider. It's basically got everything the admin package has and provider has, except it's been wired to only look at the configuration database and service. This is what you're going to install in your web services that provide configuration services. And yes, you do build that project and stand it up. So at a minimum, to deploy our product, you're going to need an SQL instance, a small one, and you're going to need a MVC web service for configuration services, and you're going to have to put this package in that configuration service and deploy it. Not really that hard. Okay, so the last one is the developer, and this is the one that this is the package that you're going to give to all of your developers who are building anything for your application, and it's the provider that talks to configuration services and knows what it's trying to do, or depending on how it's deployed, depending on where you're working, depending on what resources you want to touch. This is your conduit to that information and to the application. So for the rest of the coders who are not the admin or the configuration services admin, they get this package and they just install it, and they're all connected and wired up to all the configuration that they may need. Okay, so what are we trying to achieve with these providers? Well, it's in front of you. The configuration file in your projects are boiled down to one number, one GUID as it is. Those GUIDs tell the configuration service which environment your app is being deployed to. And this works application-wide for all of your projects, for all the pieces in motion that are working together to actually deliver the SaaS or PaaS offering. But it goes a step further. This isn't just for your project. This actually works for your entire application. All projects, all pieces of code that you're deploying into the cloud are going to use these same GUIDs, and they're going to know what environment that they need configuration information for. And they're going to pull that environment from the database. And the database connectivity information has already been edited and tested in AzStudio. AzStudio has allowed you to actually exercise connections to different resources in different environments before a single line of code is written. This gives you a really high confidence that the environment you're deploying to is correctly configured and set up and works correctly. Just from a DevOps management and communication and team communication management perspective, this is going to save you tons of time. And we got some other stuff to show you, really exciting stuff that's going to really streamline and increase the efficiency of your PaaS and Azure work.